Alright, so 10.2 area of parallelograms and trapezoids. We're gonna say that's an S. Alright, so this should kind of remind you, one, parallelograms just means that both sides are parallel to each other, and both sides are going to be equal to each other in length. So these little markings here show that they're the same length, and then they would also make this a little bigger. These lines indicate that they're the same length. So these are the same length and these are the same length. And then these lines indicate that they're what? Anyone know? Yeah?
The four sides are the same.
Nope. These are arrows. Think about them as arrows on lines. If you have arrows on lines, what is that going to indicate about the lines?
Going that way.
Well, yeah, they're going that way. What?
They're
I'll give you a clue. They're called parallelograms for a reason.
They are parallel to one another.
Yeah, they're parallel to one another. What does parallel to one another mean? Yeah?
It means they're both going the same way.
Well, not necessarily, because you could say, hey, this one's going that way, this one's going that way, whatever. It means if you extend them, you extend them forever. Obviously, it's not very good the way I wrote it, but if you extend them forever, they are never going to run into each other. They are parallel. The whole time, they're going to be like this. They're never going to run into, they're not at like an angle, or one of them straight and the other one's at an angle. They're both parallel to each other. So a parallelogram means both sides are equal to each other, and both sides are also parallel to each other. So these, you can keep on extending either way. They're gonna be fine like that the whole time too. So I put two arrows here. Why did I put two arrows here instead of the one arrows on each side? Yeah?
You have two the lines like this, and then one arrow and the other one, and one line and two arrows.
Yeah, so this one, these two, it means these two are parallel. If I would have put one arrow on here, then I would have been saying that these lines are parallel to these lines. Obviously, that's not true. So you have to put the arrows on whichever ones are going to be parallel to each other, or the dashed lines shows which ones are the same. If I would have put one dashed line on all of them, then that would have meant they were all the same length, which, if that's true, then this parallelogram would also be classified as a rhombus, because parallelograms, a rhombus means that opposite angles are equal, which is also true for a parallelogram, but opposite angles are equal and all sides are equal. So this could be a rhombus. If you're saying right now, I'm just saying it's a parallelogram, so if I'm trying to make sure that it's a parallelogram, I'd probably make it a little bit longer this way, so it doesn't look like a rhombus. But parallelogram means opposite sides are equal, opposite angles are equal, and that you're going to have these are parallel to each other, which again means that they're not going to run into one another. If you're figuring out the area of a parallelogram, let's say we've got this right here, you've got the base, and you've got the height. So area, I would write this one down. Parallelogram. I'm just gonna write parallel there, so you guys know it. It's just base times height. Why would that be if this is in this like awkward thing where it's like, hey, it's got an extra triangle this way, an extra triangle that way, yeah?
Because you take off the other triangle thing and put it on the other side so it's equal to square.
Yep.
And then you can find the area of that square.
Exactly. Well, it's not a square, it would be a
Rectangle.
rectangle. So yeah, you take this off, put it off onto this side. act like you get rid of that. Look, you've got base, you've got height, that's what it is. The thing that could trip people up is if I've got, hey, I say, hey, let's say this is 13 inches. This is 5 inches, this distance, and this is 3 inches. Some people could mistake what for the height? Yeah.
So, 5.
Yeah, you could mistake the 5 for the height just because it's this length. That does not make it the height. Remember, height always has to be vertical. Height is vertical. That means it's straight up. So then, if we look at, guided practice 1, actually, I'll do that one, I guess, on the top of page 89 here first. It says, this is 8, this is 5, and then it's got this as 4, so it's really similar to what I said. So we know base is 8, the height is 4, not 5, because the 5 is going up the side there. So what do we do? 8 times 4, it's 32, and if we check the label on this one, I believe it's centimeters squared. That's it, it's that simple. If we look over, we're going to do these ones in class because I think these are super simple. If you look at number 2, what's the base on that one? That means you need to look in your book. Number 2 on the bottom, page 89. What's the base on that one? Yeah. What?
3 units.
Yep, 3 units. And the height is, yes? I'm looking at you. 7 units. 3 times 7, look at that, 21. And does this unit have a label? No, it's not. So it is units squared. Whoops, 21 units squared. It's just that simple. If you look at 3 and 4 on the next page, so you should be flipping to the next page, page 90. 3 and 4 on the next page, it's more of the same thing. You can see, remember the big thing you need to remember is that height is always, what everyone? Vertical. Height's always got to be vertical. 5 and 6 is similar things. They give you what the base is. You just need to remember that the height is what? Vertical. I'm not going to go over the rest of those ones. You can go over them if you want. Check your guided practice in the back. You look on page 91 then, it says, hey, we got derive the formula of an area of a trapezoid. So, area of, I'm just going to say trap, right here. So, they're not telling you what it is. I did just talk to you guys about what it is. But basically they're saying is, hey, if you've got these 2 triangles right here, you know, the area of a triangle, well, I'm going to say, area of a triangle is base times height over 2. So, area of triangle is base times height over 2. Think about this one. You've got this one, you've got base times the height over 2. And you've got this one, base times the height over 2. And then you would add the 2 of them together. So you've got base times height over 2 plus base times height over 2. Well, if we remember, you can add together common denominators. So you basically got base times height over 2 plus base times height over 2. Let me make sure that I'm doing this the right way. Basically what you can do is you can say, hey, I'm going to factor out a half. You might remember factoring, we talked about it a little bit. You can factor out a half, and then the height for both of them is going to be the same. Wait. I'm going to think about this for a second. Okay. So you can factor out a half and you can factor out the height, because one of the things I didn't show in here is that the bases are different, but the heights are the same. So you can actually factor out both of these, so that the only thing you have left is base plus base, and one of these is 1 and the other one is 2. And when you look at the area of a trapezoid, 8th grade, not working for me in the back. Area of a trapezoid, you've got 1/2. The way your book's going to give it to you, and the way I'm going to have you write it down, well, they give it to you exactly this way. Area is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. You can also write down base 1 plus base 2 over 2. Think about it as averaging the bases, and then put the height. Whatever it is, you should copy it down, star it, circle it, whatever it is you need to. Because, and make sure you have that part too, because you're going to need that for the assignment. Can't figure it out without it. Alright, the last thing is actually finding the area of a trapezoid, which once you have this formula is very simple. It is not an overly complex thing. So we've got, and it says, hey, this is 12, this one's on the top of page 92. You can follow along in your book on page 92. 12, 14, and 26, and these are centimeters. Well, we literally can write in area of a, look, I'm drawing a little trapezoid, is, I'm going to use this one, 1/2 times the height, 14 inches, because height is always, everyone? Vertical, thank you, one person. Height is always, everyone? Vertical. 14 inches. And then base 1 plus base 2. 12 and 26. Rewrite this over here because I have more space. 12 plus 26. Half times 14 is 7. 12 plus 26 is 38. And when I figure those out, then I end up getting 266. Check my label. Centimeters squared. Always as simple as go back to the formula. If you know the formulas, you know how to use them, you should be completely fine. We'll go over a couple more. We do look at number 8. So with that one, what do you notice about the bases?
They're different.
The bases on number 8 on page 92. What do you notice about the bases?
They're different.
They're what? What about them?
They're not the same.
They're what?
One's going this and the other one's going down.
They're going different ways? Well, if they're bases, one thing about bases of trapezoids, they always have to be parallel to each other. But we usually know, what did you say, they're not parallel this time? That's not true, they are still parallel. What? Sorry, what's that you said? Okay, but how do we know? Look, I'm looking over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, I count across. How is the base 3 units?
4.
Is it 4?
Yeah.
No, he's right, it's 3 units.
It's like 3 1/4. No, it's 3 and, yeah, 1/4.
What's the base here? There's 2 bases. Bases have to be parallel to each other. Are these parallel?
No.
No, so the bases are this way. Can the bases be this way? Can you flip it, the trapezoid over? Yeah, of course you can. So these are the bases. This one's 3 units, this one is,
1,
and what's the vertical height?
4.
It would be vertical height, but again, you gotta think about it, just turning it this way. So it's 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. 1/2, height is 4. Add the bases, I get 4, because I'm adding them together in my head right away. 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 1/2 is 8 units. We're gonna pretend that I actually spelled units the right way there, 8 units squared. And then number, yeah, I'll do number 10 here. We've got, looks something like this. Do we know which one of them is parallel? Is it these or these? Because it looks a little bit like a parallelogram. It's not, but it looks a little bit like a parallelogram. So the big clue on this, on whether or not it's a parallelogram, is one of them is on the lines. These ones are on the grid, and these ones are not matched up with the grid. You want the ones that are matched up with the grid. So that means these are your bases, and you have, the top one is 3, bottom one is 5. And then you just have to count the grid numbers that go up. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, you go back to that formula. Area equals 1/2 height times base 1, base 2, 1/2. The height is 7. Base 1 is 3, base 2 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. I'm going to do 1/2 times 8 right away because I don't really want to do 56 divided by 2 in my head. I could, but I don't really want to. Because remember, multiplication is commutative. 8 divided by 2, or 8 times 1/2 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28 units squared. And it's more of the same. You just always got to go back to what's the formula. And there's only one more section, and that's not gonna take much time. It says apply the formula for the area of a trapezoid. So it's basically just saying, hey, we're taking this and we're making it on really big areas. So it says this is 56. These are supposed to be the parallel sides, by the way, and that doesn't really look like it, but those are the bases. 56, 98. It does say, hey, you've got these dotted lines right here. And it says what the area is. Area is 4,196.5. And this is meters squared. So with the formula is still the same. Area equals 1/2. Area equals 1/2 height, base 1 plus base 2. You just have to say, hey, I'm going to manipulate it in a different way. Just replace what I know. That's what it always should be. Replace what I know. 4,196 and 5/10 times 1/2 times height. We don't know what it is, so we just leave it as h. And then we have this getter 56 plus 98. Well, if I take 2 off this, I can get to 100. 100 plus the 54 in there is 154, excuse me. 154 times 1/2. Well, 150 times 1/2 is 75. 4 times 1/2 is 2. So 75 plus 2, 77h equals 4,196 and 5/10.